I'm Jeremy Joseph. These are all my friends. All right, so I'm a scientist. I work in the fields of applied physics and computational mathematics, and that's the last I'll talk about that today, I promise. All right, so I've lived in Nassau County and District 7 for the last decade, and I'm proud to have roots in this community here. Now, for me, having roots in the community means that I see young people and working families struggling to survive here. The only way I know how to respond to that is to fight for change. I'm on the steering committees for Nassau County DSA, where we are guided by our belief that our economy and politics should be under democratic control by all people, not just the top 1%, and Long Island United to transform policing and community safety. We're a coalition of over 100 orgs on the island that helped create the People's Plan. It's a comprehensive document for police reform that was created in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Myself and others here behind me have been a constant presence at Nassau and Suffolk legislatures fighting for racial justice. Now, fighting for change, Fighting for change has taken on even more meaning during this pandemic, where we have seen many of our institutions fail us and leave the vulnerable to fend for themselves. At the height of a global health crisis, we were left at the mercy of our employers for health care. Employers who are laying off workers by the millions. Nationwide, it's estimated that nearly 30 million Americans lost their insurance during this time. When you don't have income, you're struggling to pay rent. You certainly cannot afford insurance. And that happening in the middle of a pandemic is unconscionable. But is insurance even providing us health care? Even in normal times, over 50% of New Yorkers fall into one of three categories. One, they are uninsured. Or if they are insured, they are putting off medical treatment due to prohibitive costs, or they are burdened with medical debt, the #1 cause of bankruptcy in this country. Our healthcare system is profoundly broken and inhumane. It is not designed to provide healthcare. It is designed to create profits for the insurance industry. This is why I support the New York Health Act. The New York Health Act would create a universal, publicly funded healthcare system for all New Yorkers, regardless of employment or legal status. No more networks, co-pays, or deductibles. And if you think this is too good to be true, consider this. The rest of the world, where they already enjoy a system like this, they look at us and think our healthcare system is too horrible to be true. All right, another system that is failing us is our childcare system. It would be generous to say we have one. If you want to raise a family in Nassau County, you almost certainly need to have 2 incomes. And due to the prohibitive cost of childcare, the average cost of center-based childcare in New York is almost $20,000 annually. Many parents, especially mothers, are forced with having to choose between their careers or taking care of their young children. On the flip side, childcare providers receive such low wages that 65% are eligible for government assistance like food stamps or Medicaid. So there's a clear problem here. Families need a childcare service they cannot afford. Childcare providers provide a service that they cannot live off of. This is unacceptable and something we need to stop ignoring. This is why I support the Universal Child Care Act. This legislation would create a system to provide quality child care to families and fair wages to workers. All right, so finally, I want to talk about a crisis that extends beyond our homes and our country even. It's one that we desperately need to address. It's the issue of climate change. Climate change is a global crisis, but it's a global crisis. We are the richest country in the world. We should be leading the fight against climate change, but too often we've been in the backseat. And we've seen little to no action at the federal level due to gridlock and, sadly, climate change denial. And if anything is going to change, New York is going to have to lead the way. Unfortunately, we've fallen well short of this. It's been 3 years since we've passed any major climate legislation, and most of our initiatives remain unfunded. Yeah, boo this, please. Boo. All right. To date, we've more or less pledged to do something about climate change and are effectively waiting for a solution and funding to materialize. We have many of the solutions already available to us. A major one right now is the Build Public Renewables Act. Right now, in New York State, only 6% of our energy production comes from renewable sources like wind and solar. Yeah, we should move to immediately transition away from fossil fuels to 100% renewables as outlined by the BPRA. As a scientist, I would bring an evidence-based and data-driven urgency that is clearly lacking in Albany. Now, I've shared some things that I support, that all of us here support, that Democrats are fighting for in New York. And so you may ask, why am I challenging our incumbent Democrat senator when ostensibly she supports these things? All the things I have mentioned today, she does not support any of them. In 2018, when Senator Kaplan was elected, I think we were all excited to finally have representation in Albany. Soon after, we realized that she was not representing us. Whether it was immigrant protections, when she voted against the Green Light Bill and did not support the Excluded Worker Fund, or the environment, when she supported building the Williams Pipeline and did not support any major climate bills, or racial justice, when her name is consistently absent on bills fighting to reform our criminal legal system. Even just this month, after Republicans were using racist dog whistles to decry a statewide affordable housing proposal in the budget, Senator Kaplan took credit publicly for working to kill that proposal. She did their work for them. There could not be a greater gulf between progressives like ourselves and Senator Kaplan if she were a Republican. And that's precisely the problem. She's a Democrat in name only. And we deserve much better representation. This is a gulf that rallies, petitions, and phone calls cannot bridge. If we want representation for our communities, we're going to have to fight for it. That is why I'm running for state senate. All right, so we don't have the support of the establishment and the big money that goes with it. This is going to be a very difficult fight, but it will be worth it. If you believe in the things that we have talked about today, please support this campaign with your time and donations. This will not work if we do not build a movement. Please go online, jeremyjoseph4ny.com. Thank you.
Finish.